Hello, Froggy here, and today we'll be going to the end of the Sunless Cell D1 strike in D2. You can use either the intro mission or Nether Explore for this. The intro mission is a bit easier. If you do Nether Explore, you'll need to be Hunter. So I'm going to start off from the intro mission. But I will be showing the sections of the Nether route that differ. In the Nether, we could take this door to the right, but the intro mission locks that off. By the way, at the end, there is a very funny dev texture that we've only come across a few times, so looking forward to that, although I'm sure I've used it as the title card for the video. Anyways, multiple people told me about this little hole here, which I didn't know about at the time that I made the previous video. Those guys will just leave me alone long enough for me to jump through. There we go. And now we're free to move into the next area. If you're in Nether, this door will be shielded off, but you can easily jump past it. The other thing you have to worry about for this part is you don't want to trigger the big combat in the center. If you do that, you'll get joining allies if you try to leave, but luckily it's not too sensitive. You can see I passed fairly close to it here. We're trying to get into the Fount area. If you're doing this in Nether and happen to load there to begin with, congratulations. Not sure if it's... I don't think it's this way. But yeah, if you're already in Fount, you can use the timestamps in the description to get to the part relevant to you. Anyways, the portal over to that area is off in this direction to the right of that central pedestal. There's a cubby back here which has a shield door blocking it from the Nether, which is the main reason that the Nether route is a bit more difficult. You can see that the Ascended effects are missing here within the intro mission, since you're not really supposed to head over in this direction. So there's a shield wall that's going to prevent us from just going into the Fount, so I'm going to set a spawn point here just before the load, and then head far away. This is to get out of the preload region so that it will take the shield wall a bit longer to spawn in after we hit the load. So, as soon as I respawn, I'm just going to run straight through the portal and hopefully make it past the wall. And there we go. Didn't even have to eager edge. So let's go take a look at the differences for the route within the Nether. And there are some pretty big differences. This isn't one of them though, so let's just go through this pretty quickly. I would recommend killing the enemies here because you're going to need to have your Storm's Edge charged up. You can make it through the same hole pretty easily, especially since there are less ogres in the way. I took this route on my initial playthrough of the intro mission, jumping through this section instead of the nice opening that I was supposed to. I felt very silly when I saw that the way I was supposed to go was just 2 feet to the left of what I did, but, you know, that happens. So, like I said earlier, the portal that we want to take is blocked off, but luckily that won't stop us. With the powers of Blink Breach, we don't have to go through there at all. Thanks to Cube 17 for finding this particular one. You just got to go take the same hole that we were using back in the King's Fall days. One of these back things. Oh yeah, I think this one will work. Of course, that isn't something you can step on. You don't need Navigator for this. You can also stasis climb. But Navigator's a bit nicer, so that's what I'm going to use. Generally better to be on high jump when you're doing Navigator stuff. Let's see, I'm not getting much height out of a single one of the triple jumps. It would be nice if we could go to the right here instead of the way that I'm going. Because that would be a short path, but unfortunately there is a very large wall that prevents us from going directly. So we have to go around the entirety of the map from the outside. For the most part, that isn't too difficult. We'll be passing 2 side paths that you can take to get to the other Nether arenas. I believe the first one is for the breach, like the D1 crashed Cabal ship sort of place. We'll definitely be going there later. There are some interesting things. If you watched the trailer, you probably know what I'm talking about. But that would be off to the left here. I believe the default spawn would put you inside of the map. Yeah, and then the second one, I think, takes you to the Mauseleum. Almost got a turn back there. One of the other things about doing this within the Nether is that you have limited revives, so you want to keep an eye on those. That's why I would recommend doing it on the intro mission if you can, but if that's not available to you, you can still do this. But yeah, as always, I would recommend having Stompies on, because jumping without Stompies just feels wrong, though it didn't seem to help me there. Yeah, I am definitely not a hunter main. But because of Blink Breach, I have been on hunter a bit more recently. So there you can see the second of the side paths, and this is the trickiest bit so far. We need to dip down underneath that. So I'm going to toss on high jump here. And I'm going to pre-place my grapple point using Navigator. You don't need to do that. I just find it a lot easier. Otherwise, you could just grapple through that and do a little melee and jump. And that's what I find to be the easiest way there. By the way, thanks to Avi for showing me the routing for that bit. Anyways, we are getting close to the destination. Again, ow, another one of my precious tokens. Oh, 16 left, that should still be plenty. Yeah, you can see it off to the left there when culling allows, so maybe we can make it. That's not looking good. Oof. Well, let's switch back to high jump here and maybe grapple fly across. But of course, now my grenade is gone. Maybe I'll jump around a little bit, see if there's a better path. Maybe up? Oh, yeah, up. Yeah, I made the same sort of mistake in my earlier video. Sometimes when you have Navigator, every gap looks like a bridge. But yeah, you don't actually need Navigator for anything here. Although, on Hunter I find it makes your life much easier. This jump looks pretty triple jumpable. Especially with a sword to give us a little bit more distance. And when you look at that, Super is just about charged. So this is the new hardest part. We need to get underneath this portal. It may take a few tries. I got it on my first attempt, but now that I'm recording, of course, I'm not having the same luck. Maybe a grapple point out there will make it a bit easier. Yeah, I forgot this doesn't actually go very nicely with triple jump. Alright, how about grappling directly? And there's like a narrow point, which is the lowest part, and that's where you want to aim for. Oh, yeah. Just jumps in a swing worked pretty well. So if you come over to the side here, this is where we'll be blink breaching. For a blink breach, you definitely want to set your frames to 30 FPS. Then you want to find an area you can shoot through the floor. Generally for me that's been about this angle, although I seem to be having some trouble with that right now, so I'm just gonna play around, move around. I am moving backwards as I'm firing. You can tell from my health that I've been here for a while. And no, that is not the angle that worked for me before, but I guess it is now. See that shield wall? And we're through. We're going to be doing the same sort of thing to get through, setting a spawn point at about the top of these stairs. It's just that returning to that spawn point hurts a lot more when tokens are involved. Just going to ricochet around myself real quick here. And here we go. I must have just missed that. Alright. Well, if you have a second person or are very good with the timing, you can use the fallback point instead. I'm doing this from the intro mission because the respawn timer is a bit shorter. I'm gonna try the usual pattern. And let's see if that'll get us through. Might have had a spawn point, so I'm just gonna go back to the other though real quick and reset it. And let's give that another go. Couple steps forwards, turn around. And let's see if that'll get it. Still no, I need to shift a bit over to the left. Let's give it another go. Maybe throw in a couple extra crystals for good luck. Well, that's a bit awkward. And somehow that's the one that works. Anyways, if you do this in the Nether, I would recommend having a buddy place crystals because of the spawning timing. I would recommend just doing this spawn setting method to race the barrier. It is very consistent apart from that one failure earlier, and pretty easy to pull off, especially if you use Eager Edge. Do note, however, that if you have multiple people, you need to wait for one person to go all the way through to the zone after Fount before the next person attempts. Otherwise, you'll find that the shield wall is pre-populated. Of course, that one I had like forever for. Anyways, back over to Titan. We can get out of Fount using the same hole that you would use way back in the day. I did not play in the D1 time, so I just get to enjoy it now. But there is a nice gap you can squeeze through up here, and that'll take us through to the Asylum load. If you have buddies that are following along with you, you'll want to make sure that you're in Asylum before they go, at least if they're taking the barrier racing method. Alternatively, they can just rejoin on you, but I don't know. There's something fun about figuring that, but I don't know, there's something a bit fun about doing it yourself. At least if you're not doing it in the Nether where you have tokens to worry about. If you die to the load, it's very straightforward. You just respawn inside of the map. If you don't die to the load, you're going to want to die afterwards to respawn back inside. I'm not sure if there's a nice way to go in otherwise. I'm just gonna ricochet against the wall. I thought I could jump into that pit, but no. Well, good news is you can summon vehicles here, so I'm gonna just leave a skimmer there to block that spawn point and die again. Rip token number 9. Anyways, at this point the paths pretty much converge. By the way, thanks to Pete and Noob for finding the Sparrow route out to this area to begin with. I was very pleasantly surprised to learn that vehicles are permitted in some of these areas, although you have to go one zone further in if you're doing it from Nether. So, I really like the ceiling of this room. I think it was a bit different looking, no, don't have my other navigator. A bit different looking in D1, but this is pretty nice. Kind of starry dome up above. But that's not where we're going. Yeah, I was working with Avi trying to get this down to a solo route, and with Cube's Blink Breach discovery and a bit of help from Cloud, we were able to make it a reality. So those are the doors that you would use to go forwards if they opened. But when I was in this room, I think I found this hole up here within about maybe 5 seconds? I mean, you see a room with a bunch of things you can jump up, and the first thing you're gonna do is go up. But there is a handy gap that you can jump through right over here. There is no floor on the other side, though, so you're going to either want to be equipped for sword flying, or I guess you could just summon a skimmer. We got stuck getting further and were relying on Syncbox, but then Cloud came to the rescue. He shared a rather handy and hard to spot hole with us. It turns out that you can in fact go around this and find a hole to exit to continue the mission. Although I would recommend checking out the sync box. I'll probably do a video later on of just sync boxing out in some of the other locations to check out the sites. So you want to jump around to this little ledge here. And if you're facing outwards, you'll want to be going to the left. And there is a small gap that you won't really see until you drop down, and there's also a death barrier, so this is another place that may rob you of some tokens. But you want to drop a little bit, go forwards, and round the corner. If you don't see a wall on your right side, you're not in the right place, so you'll need to go back. And of course, once you get through, you need to have some means of making it back up. Fairly easy to do on Titan, and with Navigator and Sparrows available, you should be able to do it on any class. You can see the other side of the doors there. And with that, we are pretty much home free, at least in terms of getting to the end of the Sunless Cell strike, which, if my ability to look things up is working properly, you would fight the Darkblade. Imagine that would have been a interesting thing to experience in D1. And nice to get to see it in D2 with the new graphics and lighting. I'm not sure how much this area has been touched up, but some of the previous areas did look pretty nice. Anyways, to get to that obsolete texture, we have to get out of map once more. And it turns out there is a hole underneath this bridge here. Noob showed it in his video of this route. Although there are a lot of death barriers, I would really only recommend doing it this way if you're doing this from the intro mission. It's not too bad on Titan, although you will probably die a few times doing it. I happened to make it on my first attempt before I realized that it was actually kind of hard. I'm going to be recovering a bit of sword ammo here because I'm getting a little bit low. To do that, you want to set your ammo low when you're alive. And, oh, that's a funny bounce. When you're dead, set your ammo back up to max. And you can see that I generated a bit more. If you sword swing at the right time, you can get through without much difficulty. And now we're home free. But first, let's see a less death-prone way to do that in the Nether. If you're stuck on Hunter, I would recommend using Navigator to detect where the two sides you need to go between are. You can also have a handy grapple point set out to mark where you need to go. Put that there. And now I can use it to help pull around the corner. Also going to be using a little bit of Sparrow action since we've got that available. And a grapple to seal the... Oh. Well, missed a little bit there. Whee! I'm sure all of those were completely necessary. Anyways, to get out of map, instead of using that hole, we're going to be doing a Witherhoard Breach. If your shot bounces like that, you've got a bad Sparrow and need to summon a new one. What you want to see is, you want to see the shot bounce on top of the Sparrow. Why are there good and bad Sparrows? No one knows. But yeah, you want to ride as soon as it's bouncing, and with luck, you'll get pulled underneath. And we're through, with considerably less death. Anyways, back to Titan. We've just got the finishing touches left. All that's left to do is round the bend. And within this room, the ever-elusive Obsolete Pattern. We're not sure what it was used for, but all we know now is that it is no longer needed for that thing. There's even a smaller Obsolete Pattern in the middle. But yeah, it is nice to have one of those that you can easily walk up to. I think there was one on the moon at some point, but I don't think it's there anymore, and the other one, also on the moon, is within the edge of the box, so you can't just walk up to it like you can with that one. If there are more obsolete patterns in the game, let me know, because I would be excited to see them. I think I overshot my target here. There are 2 more obsolete pattern doors, and they are up above here. Let's see if we can grapple up to them. Seems like not directly, so we're gonna have to go back around, and now we should be able to drop right down to them. And there we go. Another obsolete pattern. Kind of see how the textures would have gone. It's kind of neat. And over on the other side, we've got another one. Good stuff. Anyways, that'll just about cover it for this one. I hope you enjoy the obsolete pattern quest and find time to do it yourself. In the meantime, I'll leave you with a fun little thing Cloud showed me back from the D1 days. I would definitely not have thought to check for this.